Well, hello, my fine friends. Welcome back to Destination Discourse. I'm joined today with Adam Stoker, the controversial man himself. How are you, sir?
The controversial man. Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Thank you, Stuart.
You like being controversial?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
just
why not? Why not?
for the sake of it? Like just like without any context, you like being controversial?
Listen, if there's one thing we've established on this show, being agreeable has not helped very many people in our industry. So yeah, I'd rather be
Mm,
controversial.
wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I guess you're turning to the heel, man. You're becoming the heel of the franchise. That's okay. If Hulk Hogan can do it and come back, then I guess you can do it too.
And he and I actually there's a lot of similarities between the two of us, and so I
Hmm.
appreciate that comparison. Everything from, physical prowess to
Mm,
hair, there's a
yeah.
lot of similarities between me and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, thanks for the little flash of
Yeah.
the head. I think I just got blinded more than I already am from that one. Um, mustache. You ever considered like a mustache like Hulk?
Yep. Yep. I took about a month, and after about a month, you could start to see it.
Yeah,
And I realized that this I don't have a multi-year pay. Oh, my wife is not going to support a multi-year attempt to grow a mustache. Let's put it that way.
totally fair. That makes absolute sense. Well, today's a little
Hey,
different
how
episode.
are you doing? Can I ask you that? What's new with you, Stuart?
Hey, we're recording a show right now, right? Like we're trying to actually cut stuff we're going to do. I don't know. It's not like just a chit chat. It kind of feels like it sometimes, but
Yeah. Okay, fine.
I'm
I won't
I'm
ask you
good.
about your
Thanks.
personal life.
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Kind of weird. Do you know something I don't know? Like I don't.
No, no,
Oh,
just I care about you. I wanted to know how you're doing.
oh, that's very sweet. I don't know how to
Yeah.
respond to that. You just went from being the heel back to the face like in 10 seconds. That might be the biggest turn ever in the history of WWE or this show. So I don't know. You
Yeah.
actually threw me off my game a little bit. I was going to start talking about the actual show we're trying to record, but carry on as you were.
Fine, fine. Let's do it.
Um, so this is weird because we've already recorded this actual episode, right? We're going to be doing a live from DI MarCom earlier in the year, and it was a good session. So we're gonna do this little intro, do a little Stu's News, and then we're gonna actually play that session. But you want to tease anything about it for the audience?
Yeah, first of all, I just got to for the one thing for our Desties that are listening, if you have chatted with Stuart for more than 5 minutes, you may have already noticed he does not like small talk.
No.
And sometimes one of the most entertaining things for me is to try to bait Stuart into a small talk situation, and that's what that was just a moment ago. It threw him off exactly as I hoped it would.
Yeah.
As for the session at Marcom, it was a really fun session, first of all, and we had a lot of great engagement, and I'm excited to share it with you all. I would say the purpose of that in-person session was for us to help everyone from a first principles perspective evaluate the destination marketing organization's role in the zeitgeist of the travel industry. And we talked about everything from what is the primary audience for a DMO, and we got a lot of debate and discussion about that, even from the audience that was there in person. We talked a lot about the purpose of a DMO, and it really helped us kind of drill down and think through why do we actually exist in this industry. And it was a really fun discussion. I'm excited about how it turned out, and I think everybody will enjoy hearing the session.
Yeah. Now I will give a caveat. There's a chunk. There was an issue with the recording, and so there was about 9 minutes in the middle that were lost. So I had to do the best I could to edit. So we missed a little bit of the conversation. So if there's I think there's a part when Christian Mengel refers back to a conversation that happened that isn't in the recording. So if you get confused, it's not you, it's us. Um, but it's still, I felt like even with the 9 minutes missing in the middle, I think it was still very relevant to our audience, and it's a conversation, extension of the conversations we've been having on the show. So I hope you guys enjoy, but it wouldn't be a proper show of Destination
No,
Discourse
no, it
without
would not.
the number one segment in all of destination marketing. You want to hit it, Adam?
I do. I'm a little rusty. We haven't done this for a minute, but I'm ready. Here we go.
All right.
Tell you what you need. It's
Oh, I've missed this.
Really there?
Oh yeah, I just love it.
It's a Stu crew.
Do you there?
Always something new. Stu News. What I do.
I would play the whole 33-second version if you would let me
Yeah,
every week on the show.
yeah. I would. You feel free, but I will edit it out every time. Do your kids still play it randomly?
They haven't in a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank the Lord they grew out of it. Hopefully you will one day. It's fine.
no
So,
promises.
so Stu's news is a little different this time. I'm gonna call you out a little bit. Well, not call you out, but we're gonna get a little raw with you a little bit.
Oh,
So one of the things on this show is we've picked up on, and a couple of other folks have mentioned is, destination discourse. Discourse is in the name, right? The intent of the show originally was we were going to debate more rigorously, and I think there's a couple of episodes. One of the last episodes when it was just you and I felt like it was pretty spicy, right? You and I sort of were
yeah.
deliberately disagreeing in an agreeable way, and it was great. Um, I felt like I was doing my Katie Briscoe impression and putting you on the ropes a couple of times, and that it was pretty good. But
You tried hard. It was good.
there it is. Um, but I want to bring that back to the show more, right? I think we've been accused of being a little easy on some guests, and I think that's probably fair. So let's deliberately try to like poke a few more holes and play devil's advocate more. And so I think that's the spirit we're going to try to move forward with the show and make sure we stay within the bounds of what's respectful. But you've been getting a little feisty, sir, on LinkedIn. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, this show has helped me so much in a variety of ways to grow as just as a person and my confidence of my beliefs and arguments. And I feel like one of the things that I've learned is we don't progress unless we actually respectfully disagree with one another. And that's carried over far outside of when we're recording the show. I've had a lot more conversations that I would say are a little less comfortable, I guess, because it's a debate, and I really quite enjoy it. And so, yeah, I think you're pointing to on LinkedIn. I'm going to tell you an exercise that I went through, and then I'll tell you one of the discussions that happened there because I think it's interesting. But when you told me about Claude Cowork, the very first project that I had Claude work on is I opened up my LinkedIn and I asked it to audit my LinkedIn and tell me where I was missing on visibility and, profile setup, and was I using LinkedIn to its maximum capacity to help my organization to grow.
Hmm.
And one of the things that it did was it audited my last 30 posts on LinkedIn. And it basically said, stop just using clips of your episodes and provide a higher variety of content with a focus on written content. And I gave it all the context of all our podcast episodes, all the Destination Marketing podcast episodes. And I said, I want you to craft my next 10 LinkedIn posts that are written, and I want you to schedule them for publishing, and I'll go in and review them and stuff before they go, but you do all the legwork. And the most engagement I've gotten on a LinkedIn post in the last 6 months, probably, are the written posts that Claude Cowork wrote for me using my
Yeah.
content, which I think was really cool. But one of the posts, I talked about how the travel experience is going to
No,
change.
my posts in quotation marks. Just when you say one of my
Yeah,
posts. Yeah.
Claude is a member of my team at this point,
Okay.
so our post. That's fair.
Okay.
That's
There
fair.
we go. Yeah.
Um, but one of those posts I talked about how the booking experience is going to continue to evolve, especially as instead of doing the type of research or the method of research that a customer used to do, they're going to ask AI to help them with the process. And I even gave an example of, a customer may type in a prompt like this, and that prompt is going to help them plan their trip sometimes better than a destination website ever could. And I had somebody who has, I feel like about once a year he finds one of my LinkedIn posts really offensive to him, and he'll chime in. And this year he chose this post to be the one that he responded on. And he basically said AI is still super dumb. In fact, I don't think he worded it like that, but he said I took the prompt that you used as your example in your post and put it in, and all I got was crap back. And
Hmm.
my response to him was that I don't think he's giving the consumer enough credit because consumers are going to learn how to provide adequate context to the AI so that the AI tool can actually give them a very customized and tailored and accurate trip recommendation. But of course, if you're just going to copy a generic post without any context and put it in the AI tool, yeah, you're going to get a crappy
Well,
response
to be
because it's
fair, isn't that
garbage
what
in,
you told
garbage
him
out.
to do there? That's what you said. Hey, put this prompt in the
No.
AI.
No, I told them that consumers are going to be putting in a prompt like this.
Okay.
And the gap in assumptions, and I think this is really important because I exactly what you're saying is my concern, is we cannot assume that customers aren't going to have ChatGPT or whatever tool they're using loaded up with an incredible amount of context so that the answers are accurate. But of course, if you just without the context say, here's a prompt, yeah, you're going to get garbage out. But the garbage in, garbage out principle is going to apply to consumers too, and they're going to get better and better and better at providing context to these LLMs. It's what we've said on the show so many times. The LLMs today are the dumbest they will ever be. And so even if you're having issues today, all they're going to do is get better. And look at the progress from 2022 when this thing launched to today. We are light years ahead of where a lot of people
Look at the
thought we would
progress in
be.
the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks. Like it's insane. The acceleration
Yeah.
is kicking on. So,
Yeah.
why I brought this up as Stu's News is I actually appreciate your willingness to publicly have this kind of debate and discourse with someone where you're coming at things from different perspectives in a public forum like LinkedIn, right? Because here it's sort of designed for that. There's a self filter in terms of the audience of this show, like they're choosing to listen to discourse. But I think it took a little bit of courage for you and potentially a risk, right? In terms of a
Well, and for him.
reputation
So I
thing.
want to be fair to him too. It took courage for him to disagree with me as well,
Yeah.
right? Like it was on both sides, and I respect his willingness to have the conversation
One
as well.
100%, right? But I love it. I'd like to see more discourse happen on a forum like LinkedIn. Sometimes we're a little too polite, you know,
Yeah.
and we agree even when we disagree, or you get this in board meetings. We're trying to foster a sense of disagreement in discourse in our board meetings because what would happen quite often in the past was there would be a conversation that happens that's very polite in the board meeting, and then after the meeting you see the parking lot conversations happening where the real conversations happening, right? So we're sort of now joking with our board and saying, hey, we put cameras and microphones in our parking lot, we're not going to allow parking lot conversations anymore. So if you we're literally saying this to them, like I'm not even being like metaphorical or figurative, we literally just said that to them and saying, if there's something you want to talk about, now is the time to do it. Don't wait until afterwards. And it's really fostered this sort of more rigorous conversation, which I think everyone in the DMO has to have. And it reminds me of one of my favorite books. We just reread it as a leadership team here, but I read it many years ago, but Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that book, if you haven't read it, I would encourage every leader within every industry to read it. But the first dysfunction that you need to fix is trust. Because if you have trust and everyone's coming at it from the right perspective, and you give people the benefit of the doubt, then you can move to the next one, which is being able to disagree, right? Because disagreement, to your point, is how we forge a better future. And so
Yeah.
I actually, it's a bit of a tip of the hat to you, sir, for having the courage. And this other gentleman, I don't think it's appropriate for us to name him because,
No, I don't want to do that.
but go to Adam's LinkedIn if you want to join in and then maybe agree with this gentleman or disagree with Adam, which is the
Well,
same
can
thing. You
I?
can agree with the gentleman or disagree with Adam because
Yeah,
there's no
those are your
alternative.
options.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just want, we've talked about before, but I think it's been a long time on this show, the term the tyranny of politeness.
Hmm.
And it really is something that I didn't realize I was a prisoner to the tyranny of politeness until we started this show. And I started to look at even how I managed members of my team that I would sugarcoat feedback in an
Yeah,
effort to protect their feelings or something
yeah,
like that. And it helped them zero. And guess what? Some of the people that I sugarcoated feedback on eventually left because they weren't getting the coaching that they needed to progress,
yeah,
right? And so
yeah.
I just, in all facets of my life, since we started this show, I actually feel like I've been a little bit freed from the tyranny of politeness, and it's amazing how liberating it actually is.
Well, you're welcome. I'll tell you one more quick thing, and then we're going to go and actually get into the real episode, which people tuned in for. But when Matt Pavanik joined our organization, he's the CEO of what is the Greater Myrtle Beach Collaborative, Visit Myrtle Beach, the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber, and Partnership Grand Strand, all entities that ladder up to the Greater Myrtle Beach Collaborative. What he instituted when he first joined was a monthly check-in with every single one of your direct reports. And when he first suggested it, I was resistant. A lot of people were resistant to this concept because, like, we do the annual reviews and it's laborious. Now you're saying we're going to do that monthly with everyone because it seems like this is the same thing. And there's a checklist and you actually go through several points. We rank everyone on a 3-point scale, not a 5-point, not a 10-point, but it's 3. It's either you're exceeding expectations, you're meeting which actually exceeding expectations is very hard to get because what we actually say is you're a peer leader, like you're the best in the organization at this. So you shouldn't really give those very often. You're meeting expectations, there's no concerns, or there's opportunity, right? And everyone should have a couple of opportunities every time. But we've created this monthly check-in that takes maybe 30 minutes per employee, but we're acting more like coaches for our team. So we're really addressing the specific issues as they arise versus an annual review, right? Where there's a recency bias to that. You can't really bring up something that happened 6 or 12 months ago in that. But now we're like doing real-time, game-time coaching. I got to tell you, it's game-changing. It's game-changing for me. The feedback I'm getting, I'm able to optimize myself. The feedback the team is getting, I'm seeing dramatic improvements. And more importantly, everybody feels like there's more trust because there's honest conversations happening. So we're able to disagree more. We're able to push forward more. Like it's been a fundamental game changer. I will not ever work at another organization without strongly encouraging them to implement monthly check-ins. It's been a game changer for us. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it starts with trust, right? And honest feedback. Because our job as leaders is to coach our team, right? We're not there to discipline our team or anything else. It's to coach them. So, well, man, I love this. Yeah. And, so let's jump into the actual meat. Let's play the session at DI MarCom. Thank you, Destinations International, not just for having us at the show, but also for allowing us to publish this. This is their content. And so definitely check out Destinations International. Their summits, their conferences are world-class. And they're one of the tip of the spear, that it's having the courage to put people like us on stage and have these kind of rigorous conversations because we've all been frustrated with how so many conferences play it safe. And it's the same vanilla AI 101 conversations again and again. So hats off to DI for allowing us to have this conversation. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Agree more.
Do we have any Desties in the audience? There's a couple.
Both of them.
Yeah, is that your mom over there?
My mom's previously occupied.
Okay.
Yeah. So my family group chat was going crazy right before this. And we actually had a text on the group chat that my dad got hit by a car today when he was on his bike. He's a big cycler. The shock was when we found out my mom was driving. And it was...
The first part of that is actually true. The second part is a really bad taste joke, but that's what you're in store for. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Stuart Butler. As they mentioned, this is Adam Stoker. We do a podcast called Destination Discourse. It's available on YouTube and anywhere you can listen to podcasts. I joined this industry about 4.5, almost 5 years ago as a CMO for Visit Myrtle Beach. And I started asking questions, and I was getting a reaction to those questions that was somewhere between fear and bewilderment because there were questions that weren't being asked in polite society. And so we decided, Adam and I, because we were having some of these conversations, that we needed to stir it up a little bit. There needed to be a platform in the industry that was willing to have these conversations in public because some of them are happening behind closed doors. But as an industry, we tend to gravitate towards the status quo. We tend to think about our motivation being not taking risk. And the reason for that is obvious, right? We've all seen the horror stories of people getting defunded for one bad campaign. And so we wanted to challenge that. I believe that our biggest risk today, because of all the transformation that's going on, our biggest risk is continuing to do the same thing we've been doing. The definition of madness has flipped. It used to be if you do the same thing and expect different results, you're insane. I think today, if you do the same thing and expect the same results, that's the definition of insanity. Everything's changing. And so we're going to have a little dialogue today. We're going to challenge the existence of DMOs. We're going to challenge the coexistence of DMOs in their community, and you guys are going to get to be a part of this. And we're going to see in real time whether our thesis is right or not. But our thesis is that DMOs may or may not know what their role is in the very rapidly incoming future. So there's a Menti poll. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so we use a technology called Menti. Many of you are probably familiar with it, or Mentimeter. If you scan this QR code, we're going to do some polling throughout the conversation today to make sure that we're reacting to how you all are interpreting what's going on in the space. And so we'd love for everyone to participate. Stuart actually says it's required or mandatory.
It is absolutely mandatory. And if you don't participate today, Adam's going to take out an ad in your local newspaper claiming that you need to be defunded. That's what he told me before. So everyone has to do it. He's mean, this guy. He's really mean. So everyone, give everyone
I like that.
I didn't tell you I was going to say that, did I? So everyone scan Mentimeter. We're going to ask a couple of questions. And then what we're going to do is there's a couple of microphones here. And first, have you seen Jubilee on YouTube where people have to rush to get to the microphone to argue a point? We might have a little of that action because we're going to ask people in the audience to come and justify why they said what they said. And then we're going to have a little rigorous debate. The reason the show is called Destination Discourse is because we believe there needs to be more rigorous debate. We need to be able to challenge the status quo and think differently. And our goal today isn't to solve the problems of the industry. Our goal today is for everyone in this room to have an idea or a thought that challenges them in a little different way so they leave a little bit better tomorrow than they were today. That's our goal. Sound good?
Yeah, it's important to note that if you do come up to the microphone to ask a question, we don't get to you. It's not because we don't want to hear your question. We've got a lot to go through over the course of the time. So just make sure you are quick, like Stuart said, if you want to get to the microphone.
And what Adam's really saying is he likes to talk and hear himself talk more than you guys. So that's what he's saying.
Haven't you noticed so far that it's me? All right.
We ready?
So let's do it.
Cracking.
Let's
This
dive
is
in.
water, by the way. It's not anything adult beverage.
So let's start with a warm-up, but I think it's an important one. What is the primary purpose of a DMO? Why do we exist? You've got quality of life for the residents, to drive visitation, to build a sustainable tourism economy, support local businesses, economic development, destination stewardship, or other.
So while you guys are answering this question, I am a recovering physicist. Any other physicists in the room? I know there's one somewhere. None? Okay. All right. So we have we like to go back to first principles when we're challenging the status quo. We like to say, what is the minimum truth that we can build upon? And if we can't answer this question in an industry, the rest is going to be really hard to answer, right? So if we don't know why we exist, how are we going to figure out what to do next? So this is a really intriguing answer. The other thing I'll say is I'm legally blind. I cannot see the screen. My central vision is completely shot. I have a form of macular dystrophy. So I'm totally relying on Adam to tell me what it says. So sometimes he'll make things up. So
the power that gives me is actually really satisfying.
You guys have to keep Adam honest. But what are we looking at, Adam?
So right now, far and away, the leader is to build a sustainable tourism economy.
Okay.
Followed by drive visitation as number 2. And then third is economic development. The fourth, I'll give you destination stewardship. So those are kind of the top 4.
Okay. And they're pretty spread out, you know?
Pretty spread out. I think build a sustainable tourism economy, it has a pretty big lead on, it's 48 people versus drive visitation is 32. And I think it makes sense for those two to probably be the top 2.
Okay. Do we want to hear from these folks? Do you want to put some people on the spot?
Not at all.
Not even close?
Yeah, if you want to come to the microphone and share why you said what you said, why your answer was
We'll
what
have
it
one
was.
on each microphone. How about that? And we'll hear from 2 folks. And preferably
Don't be
2
shy.
different
Why is it to build a sustainable tourism economy? Why is that the primary purpose of a DMO?
No one's going to stand up in this room? Unbelievable. Not that one? All right, we can do that. Adam, why don't you argue one of these?
Yeah, let's, I mean, if you want me to take the low-hanging fruit, easy one.
Go for it.
Okay, so to build a sustainable tourism economy, the reason in my mind that you can't just stop at drive visitation is because there's so many other things that come from visitation, that derive from visitation, that we have to be careful of, right? Like we have to be good stewards and make sure. One of the things that happens is when you get to the point where you've reached capacity of visitation, Now we have a visitor flow problem. We don't necessarily have a quantity of visitation problem. So how do we make sure that we're distributing visitors correctly throughout the destination? And how do we make sure that the visitors that come today don't damage the ability for visitors to come tomorrow or for residents to live there tomorrow? And so I think it's really important that we look beyond just visitation as the purpose of a DMO, but instead to build a legacy of a sustainable economy for the destination.
Yeah, so I'll take the second one, the visitation, the heads in beds. This is the traditional one. And I don't actually agree with this, but I'm going to sort of try to make the argument. The number one priority for us is to maintain our existence. And the number one threat to that is the elected officials that get to decide who gets what budget, right? And we've seen over the last couple of years how, and really the last few decades, how much of a threat that is. And I think that threat is going to continue to ratchet up. That threat is coming because in a world where people are using AI tools to make their decisions about travel, the DMO website potentially becomes irrelevant, and our ability to measure things like influence of travel decisions, clicks to our members, is going to erode really rapidly. And so we've got to go back to what matters to elected officials, and to them it's tax collections, right? If we're not showing tangible ROI in a consistent manner, we're going to get defunded. So I think that would be the argument I would make for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument. In fact, it's a good segue into the next question that hopefully we can get. Everybody prepare yourselves, because we need people to come up to the microphone for the next one. The question is, who is the DMO's primary customer? Is it visitors? Is it residents? Is it elected officials? Or is it local businesses? Or is it someone else that we haven't mentioned here?
And while we're doing that, while they're answering that, the first question's interesting, right? Because you had a 40% or a 30% or a 20%. There isn't consensus. There's not a coherent answer to the question, like why we exist and what we do. And I think that's a problem. I think I would look to us as an industry. I'd look to our power structures like DI to help us answer that question. Why do we exist? I think there should be one source of truth for that. Now, what we actually do in our given market is going to depend on the situation. Are we part of a chamber of commerce, or are they separate? Are we part of economic development, or are they separate? How we go about it should be different, but I think ultimately the why should be the same. And I think it is actually the one that people 40% said, which was the to basically be the steward of the hospitality industry and tourism industry. But so where are we with this one?
Well, I want to just go back to put a bow on what you just said, because it's really important. If we don't know why we exist, setting the objectives is impossible. And so we do have to, as an industry, get to the point where we have consensus on our purpose so that we can set the correct objectives and make sure that we're successful in our destination. Let's talk about our primary customer. This is interesting to me. So we've got 92 answers for visitors, and that's far and away the leader. The next one has 20 responses, which is residents. And then we have 17 that say local businesses. And then elected officials is 1. I'm assuming there's 1 elected official in the room. And then the 3 that are left said other.
So I will challenge the response to this, because our behavior doesn't exhibit what you guys are saying, right? At the time we spend energy, especially if you're a CMO, if you listen to the show, we had Emily Zatucci on last year. She's been on a couple of times, but the first one, she challenged the role of the CMO and sort of made the argument that, are we really chief marketing officers or chief value officers? Because you spend as much time having to sell your benefit and your value to your stakeholders as you do actually thinking about the visitors, right? And so if our priority is the visitors, which is overwhelmingly what folks are saying, then why is so much of our time being spent talking to elected officials, talking to stakeholders?
And we've got Sue at the microphone who wants to chime in on that.
Go for it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sue O'Shea from Visit Anaheim, and I'm going to add another category to this.
Awesome.
Anaheim has a TOT, which the city collects and keeps 100% of. We also have a TID, which is funded by our local hotels. And so since the hotels are giving us a percentage of every visitor stay, our primary customer is those hotels in terms of using that money that they give to us in terms of driving visitation and room night bookings to our destination.
So they're the customers because the funding flows from them. They're the one where the transaction is taking place for you to get your funding is coming from the hotels. That's the argument you're making, right, for that one?
Absolutely. And how we do that is to market to visitors. But ultimately, we're responsible to and report to our board, which are mostly comprised of hotel GMs. And all of the hotels look to us, especially to fill their rooms during slower times. And so we focus on getting that mission done.
That's great. So this is complicated, and I think it depends on what your definition of customer is, right? Because it would be easy to make the argument that our customer is the person that gives us money, right? That's in a typical business, that's the customer. In our role, it's probably more about who are we creating value for, right? And it's true that we're creating value for the visitor. It's true that we're creating value for our local stakeholders and businesses in our community and our residents. I think this is one where the podcast itself, one of the things we wanted to do, and one of the questions that was asked to me was, why does someone that's not selling something to the industry want to talk to the industry, right? I was a CMO at the time for Visit Myrtle Beach, and I don't have wares to hawk like Adam does. He likes to sell all of his stuff.
There it is.
So there it is. So I was asked, why am I doing it? And one of them was to challenge myself, to talk to the smartest people, the desties in the industry, and learn from each other. And one of the things that's happened is my opinion on this question has actually evolved over the 70+ episodes that we've done. If you'd asked me a year ago, Adam, which you did several times on the show, I would have said our residents are probably our number one stakeholder, and we exist to improve the quality of life for the residents. And I've heard that a lot. I used to agree with that. My opinion's actually evolved over the last year or so. I think they're the beneficiaries. I think we exist to their betterment, but it's not the primary customer. I think, to me, we do a lot of work, and our effort is to focus on the visitor, but we're doing it for the businesses, the people that are actually driving the tourism economy. That's what I think on this one.
That's your opinion.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. We've got someone at the microphone that wants to share. Will you say who you are and where you're from as well?
Yeah, I'm Ashley Mays from Newark, New Jersey. I lead our DMO that is actually embedded within a merged organization of private sector-led economic development, that's Newark Alliance, our downtown business improvement district, and the DMO. So now we are this kind of mega organization. And, I've been hearing a lot about kind of funding models to help, create sustainability for DMOs. And so I think that we're really, creating an interesting model to address those concerns and really get destination marketing embedded with economic development and having control of product as well. So I think this is, obviously, it's a really complicated question. Residents and local businesses for us are kind of packaged together because a lot of our small businesses are also local residents as well, or they're, employing local residents. So we kind of see it as a package, but everything that we do is for residents and local businesses and driving economic impact. So that, I say that to our hotel partners, I say that to our elected officials, say that to, our bid payers who are paying, our special assessments. We have funding, that comes from TID, that comes from special assessment that funds the bid, and that comes from, member donations from our corporate partners. But at the end of the day, the residents and local businesses are why we exist.
So you're combining, for your answer, residents and local businesses into one, right? And I think that makes sense. One of the questions that I would pose for everyone, and thank you for your comments, and Sue for yours as well. A question that I would pose to everyone that's evaluating this question is, who do I need to be accountable to? And am I structured in such a way that my accountability represents who the customer is? Because one of the challenges that I think we have is we have a lot of bosses. Like, we have a lot of stakeholders with different needs, different demands. The residents want to not have to wait at a restaurant, right? But they want great restaurants, right? The local businesses want to generate as much revenue as they can. The elected officials want the residents to be happy, but also with them, right? And so there's a whole lot of different bosses that we're accountable to. And I think it's really important that we kind of map the value we provide to each customer or possible customer, and make sure that we're communicating that value to each of the customers on our list. How do we communicate to local businesses about the value that we bring? How do we communicate to residents about the value that we bring to them? And do they know? And I think it's going to be really critical to map that out, because one of the things I think we've identified clearly here is there's not one customer. There's lots of customers, and that means there's lots of people questioning the value we're bringing to the community.
So homework assignment for all of you. I would encourage everyone to have this conversation with your team first and then with your board of directors. Because it might surprise you, and every community is going to be slightly different. But I think unless you can agree on this, it's going to be hard to find alignment with your board and with your stakeholders. And so I would encourage you to pose this very question and work through it. And like Adam said, go through a map for each customer group. What are the specific things we do to make sure they're feeling that value? Because it is different. Like a great tip I learned, actually, I think it was at this conference last year when one of the breakouts was, you know, we got to market the marketing, right? We've got to tell the residents that we're doing a great job, but we can't advertise to them. We can't spend restricted dollars. So what if when I'm negotiating my national media buy with radio or audio or TV or whatever it is, negotiate in a value add to hit my local market. I'm not spending any restricted dollars, but now I have the ability to communicate and push my message out to my residents and my businesses.
Yep.
You want to do the next one?
Let's go to the next one.
We're whizzing through these, man. This is great.
Every once in a while, he'll hit me with a British word that I'm just not familiar with. We're whizzing through these, which has a completely different context.
You can do your English accent like you did last time we were on stage?
Yeah, there won't be any more water bottle jokes. Okay, the first time we ever presented on stage, I thought it would be funny to start with a question for Stuart where I asked if he wanted a water bottle, and it really flopped.
It just really, like you did now.
Really.
You like recirculated the same bad joke and it had the same effect.
And it was just as bad then as it was today.
It was great.
Yeah.
All right, so what's this question?
So if your DMO's funding were cut to zero tomorrow, who would come to your defense? Visitors, residents, elected officials, local businesses, and other. And I actually think this is a really interesting extension of the question we just asked.
It is.
Who's your primary customer and who values you the most, I think is another way to word this question.
This may be the most important question you ask yourself and try to answer for sure. It looks like we got a big winner right now.
Yep.
And you can select multiple on this one, right? You don't just have to select one?
I can't remember. Can you select multiple on this one?
Okay.
Just one.
So what's the one in the lead right
So the one in the lead by a mile is local businesses.
Okay. And then what's number two?
So you've got number 2 is elected officials, and then other is 5. We've got one resident answer.
Okay. This is an interesting one because I think there is an existential threat facing us, right? I think we are asking these questions, these first principle questions, for a very important reason. And that is technology is changing society at a rate we've never seen before. The research funnel for travel is going to be fundamentally different 12 months from now. It's already beginning to change. But there's 2 things that have happened in the last couple of weeks or month that I think are going to be very pivotal in this. One is Google now is rolling out their agentic assistant within Chrome, right? Chrome is the #1 used browser. And so we've heard agentic. A lot of folks aren't using that in this industry yet, but I think this is going to bring the ability to do complex tasks to the masses in a frictionless way. And they actually Google sent out an email to everyone that has a login for Chrome last week that said, you can use this tool for things like booking travel. So it gave a specific example of how you could say, I want to go to Myrtle Beach, go figure it out for me. And eventually we'll build the trust and we'll be able to let the AI do a lot of the heavy lifting, right? So completely bypassing the DMO website. The other is, again, a Google thing. Google Gemini is going to start powering Siri on the iPhone. The iPhone is the #1 most adopted technology for cell phones. And so once Siri doesn't just suck, sorry, Apple, once it can do more than just set timers and play music and can actually interact with the apps and do complex things, that's a fundamental shift in what consumers are how they're going to adopt AI. And so although AI adoption is going to be bottlenecked by human lack of risk, it's going to accelerate this year. And so that's going to happen in September. So now we've got your web browser on your desktop and your cell phone are going to be decreasing the likelihood that someone ends up on a DMO website. So we got to be able to answer the question, well, what value do we provide to our community, our hospitality industry, if it's not clicks to our members? Because that's how a lot of us are measuring. If it's not just the revenue we generate, because we're not going to be able to see how much revenue we're influencing in this future.
I want to add to that specifically because we essentially, if the only value we're communicating to the people who would come to our defense, the local businesses, right? If the primary vehicle of value we're presenting is the number of clicks coming from our website, that means the house of cards is about to come crashing down if you've built your value just around the traffic you're giving from your website. And so hopefully everybody in this room can look forward over the next couple of years, what's going to happen to destination websites. We've already seen a drop in traffic this year for a lot of destinations, in fact, most destinations that I've talked to. Then as AI continues to disintermediate the website from the process, it's very realistic that the value you're communicating to your stakeholders is no longer going to be the same in a short period of time. And that's when the house of cards comes falling down. So everybody needs to evaluate if this is who would come to your defense, if everything went wrong, you need to be communicating your value in a much better way than just the clicks that we're driving. We've got a Desti here, Christian, who was a guest on the show, although we haven't released that episode yet, have we?
We did one, so he's coming back again. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, so I just got to support my brother. 5 weeks on the job for having the right answer. You know, he called me out. You know, made me raise my hand. So I got to support him in that. Also, former journalists. How many former journalists are in the room, by the way? I know there's quite a bit of this. There we go. Storytellers.
Guys, go hire former journalists. They're the best DMO.
Yeah, any
people in
media
the world.
guys.
They think the right way. They care. Really hardworking. They're used to deadlines. Go hire journalists.
Yeah, and I'll be quick so we get to this other question. But I picked residents because if we get defunded tomorrow, it's because of our political leaders in the community that defunded us. So they're not coming to our defense. Local businesses don't want to take that side because they don't want to be political in a very split world that we're living in right now. But it's the residents who are the voters that voted us into existence. And so we would rely on those residents to bring us back and vote those political leaders out who defunded us. So we're all on the residents.
Totally fair. And the purpose of the show is exactly to have these conversations, not to reach like some consensus at the end where everybody agrees on what the answer is, but instead that we all understand the different parts of the conversation and have thought it through and not just use kind of history to decide the future.
All right, last question, Adam. We've got like 7 minutes left.
Want to go into this. What, in one word, what's the biggest threat to DMOs? And this is in the form of a word cloud. So we've got, I'm seeing some that make me smile here. So politics is one, funding, Stuart. And that one, Stuart, it's one of the biggest ones.
That's hilarious. Who did that? I bet that was Matt Stoker.
Misinformation.
Was it? Yeah. See? I knew it. I knew it. That's awesome.
AI is listed as a threat. Government, apathy, defunding, government is, perception, misinformation. Sorry, it keeps changing the sizes. Ignorance, defunding. So yeah, I think the top 5 that I'm seeing is funding, politics, Stuart, perception, and misinformation.
That's good.
I agree with the Stuart one, just to be clear.
I'm going to ignore that. So funding, politics are sort of together, right? In a lot of ways. But I think people are saying the same thing, right? Which is we need to do a better job of showing our value to a lot of people.
Who said armadillos?
That's a good callback to yesterday, right?
That's a good one. I would actually like to understand on a couple of these, outside of Stuart, Corey. Who's Corey? Outside, I can't believe how big
we lost control. I feel like I'm on a Reddit thread right now. Like,
okay, we just found out in real time that a word cloud is probably not the safest question option here. This is like when they named that Bodie McBoatface on the internet. You guys are like the internet here today.
Yeah.
Who would like to share why they put what they put as the biggest threat to DMOs? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I represent Central Delaware. I was also on Adam's podcast, episode 403, if you need something to listen to on the way home. But I put misinformation because I think a lot of residents have no idea what we do as tourism bureaus, and I know that's something that we need to work on. But for us, I know anytime we're in any type of public conversation about funding and all these things, everyone always goes back to tourism. Let's take that from tourism. And I'm like, how much do you think we get? It's nothing on the level that they think. So we're always making do with what we have. So I think it's always like that misinformation and perception that tourism brings in all this money. They must have it all, but they don't realize how many hands are in the pot at every given time. So
I think there's a solution that we've used in Myrtle Beach, and I've heard other destinations have used this pretty effectively, and it is creating the counterfactual, right? And this is something Emily talked about on our show too, but fear is a big motivator, not just for us, but especially for elected officials. And so if you can demonstrate, work with some of our fine vendors in the industry to do some analytics on what if the DMO went away. There's tons of case studies where it actually happened, so we know it's not theoretical. You can look back 20 years and see where DMOs got defunded and what negative impact. Some states still recovering from when it happened 20 years ago. And so there's certainly case studies out there, but if you can create a counterfactual, which is if you reduce that budget by $5 million, $10 million, whatever it is, this is what's likely going to happen. It's not coming from you, it's coming from experts that say your tax revenue will decrease, your economic impact will increase X number of dollars. When they start seeing that, oh, a $5 million increase is going to have $100 million plus impact on our taxes, they're going to think twice before they see you as a bank and say, we can take that money out without any negative impact and put it in. And the other one, I got this from Amir Elon, he told it on the show too, which is when people say, well, I'm not convinced that advertising works, ask your elected official, well, did you not advertise when you ran for election last time? Because wouldn't you have just gotten elected anyway, right? And that usually changes the frame of reference for them to something that's tangible. Yeah. And so you got to fight it on multiple fronts. And then the third is you can't be the only one that's talking. So going back to who are your defenders and your advocates in your community, making sure that you have businesses that are standing up in front of city council and saying, if this entity gets defunded or goes away, this is how it hurts me, and I'm a florist, and this is how they benefit me today, and that will go away if they go away. So you've got to create this moat of defense around you, which is other industry folks, the folks in hospitality, but it's also the folks that are not in hospitality. Because if you can get all of them to stand around you in front of city council, it's a lot harder for them to just blindly take money from you and put it in someone else's pocket.
I just want to point out to you, Stuart, that Corey has now taken the lead on the biggest threat to our industry. And so, Corey, whoever you are, stay away from me, please. The damage you're doing is just unprecedented.
I kind of want to meet Corey now. Let's have him on the show. That sounds really good.
I met Corey in the bathroom. Didn't realize it was you, Corey. Okay. Amazing.
We got like 1 minute. We're going to wrap.
The thing, I want to go back, and Catherine, that was a great episode that you did with me on the show. You talked about misinformation is the biggest threat for you because so many people don't understand what we do. What I've witnessed in the destination marketing space in the last 10 years or so is this evolution to where you just cannot do it alone anymore. There's too many other people who influence the possibility of your success, and you can't do it without building a coalition. And so many, the destinations that I've seen truly be successful in gaining true relevance in a community, they've built a coalition of like-minded individuals that all have the same objective, which I'm going to call it back now to the first question that we had in here is why do we exist? And we need to find all the other people who have a part in the why we exist. If we're trying to build a sustainable tourism economy, for example, all the people that touch that, we have to be aligned and pushing towards the same objective. And that's how you can be successful and maintain your relevance in your community.
Yeah, and there's a phrase that's going around this industry and this organization. I've heard it a lot. I first heard it from Matt Pabonic when he was in Topeka. They have the Greater Topeka Partnership, and they talk a lot about radical collaboration. And that's bringing together every influencing entity within your organization to the table to work together, not against each other, to have a central strategy for your community. And you can do that really easily. Create a steering committee that represents all of those entities. Don't take control of it. Don't be in charge of it. Just be a convener. If DMOs are conveners, they're going to be less of a threat. So I think we're out of time. Do we have a QR code for the show? There you go.
If you scan this QR code, you can listen to the show. We release it weekly. We've had some of the really most fun conversations I've ever had in the industry. It's really pushed me to get smarter as a destination marketer. I think it'll help you all too.
And we'd love to have you. Open invitation. If you want to reach out to us, if you listen to the show, you like it or you don't like it, reach out to us and come and challenge what we're saying and bring your new ideas too. This is really a platform that is going to change the industry. We really want to challenge everyone to think a little differently and be a little better tomorrow than they were today. So thank you all. We appreciate you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
201, look at that.
We nailed it.